U.S. border agents in this residential neighborhood of Roma, Texas, get word that an illegal border crosser has been spotted hiding in somebody's backyard. They apprehend him, but he's not talking.
So 2 south?
The question is, are there more with him?
Is this all of them, Adam?
No, actually, it's not all of them. Another border crosser is seen here making a run for it, while border agents with the first guy they caught are down the street. So he keeps running and disappears into the night. More border agents arrive to track him down, going house to house in search of him. Roma, Texas, where there is no border wall, is one of the most popular places to cross into the United States for border crossers. The majority of them in the last several months have been families from Central America and unaccompanied minors like this brother and sister picked up on the side of the street. More than 100 border crossers will be apprehended tonight here in Roma.
¿De dónde eres?
Honduras.
Honduras. ¿Por qué vengas aquí?
Por una seguridad.
¿Qué?
Por una seguridad.
¿Cómo está la vida en
En
Honduras?
Honduras está tremendo la delincuencia y la hambruna.
¿Sus hijos?
Mi hijo es él.
¿Qué piensas ahorita?
Algo muy especial, muy tan alegre porque vine a estudiar aquí.
¿Cómo te llamas?
Jefferson Josué,
¿Cuántos años tienes?
14 años.
¿Y por qué vengas aquí?
Pues para darle un mejor futuro a mi hija, ya que soy madre soltera y me esfuerzo para poder sacarla adelante.
¿Quién tiene bolsa? Portillo Ramos.
All of them arriving here from just across this river, the Rio Grande, from the town of Miguel Alemán on the Mexican side. Immigrants routinely filmed being paddled across the river by human smugglers in rubber boats and rafts to the U.S. side of the river. Many border crossers arriving in this neighborhood along the riverbanks of the Rio Grande, known as Colonia de la Cruz, a neighborhood under virtual around-the-clock surveillance by U.S. Border Patrol agents. Some residents here making it clear they don't want border crossers coming through here. One homeowner posting a sign that implies he'll shoot them on sight. Though some residents here are said to be working with smugglers as lookouts on this side, hiding border crossers in their homes when they first arrive here. People living here say no one is ever quite certain who is who walking the streets.
This is one of 6 cameras that I have, and it's pointed to my backyard.
Resident Maria Rios has not 1, but 6 surveillance cameras mounted around her house and in the backyard. She says her husband put them up because he's often out of town for work. Maria can watch her granddaughters playing outside and watches for anyone who might be jumping into her backyard after crossing from the river.
The river is right there behind those trees.
What scares her, she says, are warnings from the current U.S. president that many border crossers are, quote, bad hombres.
We don't know who these people are, right? Like, they could be gang members, rapists. We don't know who they are. So this is why I'm afraid, like I said, I live by myself most of the time. I'm afraid that one of these days, one of them they're gonna come into here and, go into my house and you know, do something to us. You know, I have neighbors here that making a living out of all these people that are crossing, and
they let them stay in their houses?
you know, that's why the Border Patrol thinks that everybody's doing it.
There are times when you come across 8, 10, 12.
U.S. Border Patrol spokesman Marcelino Medina tells us that apprehensions of illegal border crossers in Roma have been steadily increasing, and not just in Roma, but all along 300 miles or 500 kilometers of the Rio Grande on the U.S.-Mexico border.
Here by the broad gate.
An unprecedented mass migration of families, he says, mostly from Central America, the highest levels in a decade, with more than 75,000 immigrants in total crossing into the United States per month. Here along the Rio Grande, often more than 1,000 per day.
Just this week and on Tuesday, the agents here in the Rio Grande Valley sector apprehended 1,300 people. But the majority of the people that we do see in this area are Central Americans, and they are family units and unaccompanied children.
However, what often happens, he says, is that while families are being apprehended, drug traffickers and other criminals use the opportunity to slip past.
They'll exploit those areas and get commodities across, like narcotics.
Though drug traffickers are often caught in the act on surveillance cameras attached to blimps positioned all along the Rio Grande. Blimps that have become a virtual electronic border wall that are widely credited for an increase in border crosser apprehensions. Additionally, surveillance towers equipped with cameras like this one, for example, have gone up in border communities like Maria Rios's De La Cruz neighborhood in Roma. And on the banks of the Rio Grande in Roma is this U.S. Army National Guard unit using thermal imagery technology to stop smugglers coming across the river at night. For example, they've just radioed U.S. Border Patrol Agent Ferguson here that human smugglers are just 10 feet from him down below on the riverbank. He can actually hear them talking. The smugglers see the camera light and assume correctly a journalist is filming them.
¿Qué onda, pinche periodista, hijo de perra? ¿Dónde están, perro?
Agent Ferguson finds the smugglers stranded on this large tree limb in the water. They tell Ferguson the boat that dropped them off has returned to the Mexican side. A young female passenger between them remains silent. To Agent Ferguson's surprise, one of the smugglers casually lights up and smokes some marijuana.
Marihuana. See what I deal with? Espérate, güey, que tienes miedo, güey. No, güey. Aquí con estos vatos que no dejan cruzar para allá, para Roma, Texas. Uno que quiere ser... ¡Ay! Uno que quiere ser la buena vida. Sí. Y estos vatos no dejan cruzar. Sueño, vato. Dormir, mucho tiempo trabajando. 2 horas más. 2 horas más. Y yo sé. Sí. I said I have 2 hours left, and he said, yeah, I know. Tenemos todo controlado también, hasta Roma. Sí. Ya sabemos el horario, mira. I think they know our schedules and all the rules and stuff better than we do.
Ferguson needs to investigate another call and tells the smugglers to return to Mexico.
Gringo, ¿cuándo le vas a subir ese?
En 2 semanas, 3 semanas, sí. En todo el mundo.
Ya me morí. A la mejor ya me mataron en México, quién sabe. No es fácil toda la vida.
So they're seldom carrying weapons?
Yeah, not very often. You'll get the occasional, pocket knife.
Ferguson says last night in this abandoned building, he found several border crossers hiding among dozens of bats that he caught on his smartphone. Right in here?
Yep.
Hey!
Presently, he spots a mother and her teenage daughter who don't appear to be Central American.
Brazil? Oh, Romanian. Romanian? Okay.
They're from Romania?
Yeah, Romanians.
The smugglers who escorted them here evidently left them to fend for themselves. They speak no English, and Ferguson and the cameraman know only 2 words in Romanian. The name of famous Romanian Olympic gymnast Nadia Comaneci.
Nadia Comaneci. Romania.
They'll now be driven to a U.S. detention center 50 miles from here. Their first full day in the U.S. spent here with hundreds of other border crossers, primarily from Central America, pleading to stay in the United States, while life goes on without them outside these walls.
Come and get it, come and get it, come and get it, come and get it.
People here in Roma, Texas say people in other states take cell phone video of deer crossing the road. In Roma, you're just as likely to see a border crosser. Many residents here will tell you they just try to mind their own business. But in fact, they're usually always on the lookout for the next border crosser that might be coming their way.
How many of you finding more walking up just to know if there's more coming up?
For example, this group of border crossers has just been apprehended outside this local coffee shop tonight as employee Dena finishes making an iced coffee.
What about you here working by yourself at night?
So I do see illegal immigrants coming by. We've talked to Border Patrol and they do patrol, so they're always around the area. It does make me nervous sometimes, but I've never been scared or felt like I'm in danger in any way. Because I don't think most of them come to cause harm to us. Well, my family, we're an immigrant family also, so if it weren't for being able to cross over, we wouldn't be here either.
10-4.
And Dena says she's against building a wall through Roma to stop them.
Personally, I don't think we need a wall. I think maybe just more regulation and enforcement.
They were born last night, right?
Mm-hmm. Life began to slowly change here in Roma, says Maria Rios, after the September 11th attacks in the United States. When she says border crossers started showing up in Roma when they could no longer get around border walls in border states west of here. So she says they started crossing here at Roma, where there's never been a wall. A wall, Maria says, a majority of residents here are against. Her solution for stopping border crossers:
give them visas to come over. That way it won't be a business for the, for other people.
Admittedly, says Maria, she has a soft spot for immigrants coming from Mexico. It was her grandfather on her mom's side, Sebastian de la Cruz, who moved from Mexico decades ago, arriving here on the U.S. side of the Rio Grande, buying all this land that today is Colonia de la Cruz, named in his honor.
This is our land, my land.
When we have a final count, we'll go ahead and log it down.
Maria says today all the security along the river has changed the simple life she remembers growing up here as a girl when she and her cousins spent most of their day at the river.
And everybody would get together and let's go to the river and we would come and swim. We'd swim in the river.
It's a very unique culture.
These days on the U.S. side of the river, says local resident Dena Garcia Peña, most people won't go near the river because of so many border agents around.
Just by the POE.
That includes U.S. Border Patrol boats. She says residents here can no longer enjoy what was once a well-maintained public picnic area and family park on the U.S. side of the river.
We have actually quite a bit of picnic tables in areas that families could use on a day-to-day basis that right now are completely overgrown with brush and weeds, and unfortunately it's just not very welcoming. There's not even a way to get down anymore. And if you look at the Mexican side, even on the Mexican side, you can see families enjoying themselves. On any given day, you can see people fishing on the river. And that's just not what you see on the American side.
Hola.
Hola.
Buenas tardes.
Dena is a mom and a local journalist, publishing a widely read local weekly newspaper here and website about life in the Rio Grande Valley. She works here in this office in the back of her husband's auto body shop. Her husband Jorge, back in the day, swam across the Rio Grande as an undocumented immigrant before receiving legal documents to stay.
94.
And Dena says her father came here years ago without papers from Mexico before becoming naturalized and becoming a successful businessman.
My parents both immigrated into the U.S. My mom cleaned houses for a living, and somehow she and my father were able to create a great life for themselves and for us. And I sometimes think about my father living in Mexico, and if he had not crossed the river, where would we be? I mean, where would I be? And instead, I grew up in a land of great opportunity in a country that I love and that I believe is better than this.
He's en route from the Wolfhound contract.
Dena says if a wall is built on the riverbanks in Roma, people will lose their homes. And she says the wall would go right through a major bird sanctuary here. Presently, a tourist couple visiting from Wisconsin tell Dena they support a wall here and that stopping border crossers is more important than residents here complaining about possibly losing their homes to a border wall.
What right do you have to come in and take it from me?
And I understand that, but is stopping your house more important than stopping bad people from coming across?
The woman acknowledges that back where she's from in the U.S. state of Wisconsin, her town uses a lot of undocumented Mexicans to do their work.
In our little town, we have dairy farmers, and many of the people that work there are from Mexico. Mm-hmm. So it's just the fact that I don't want bad people coming across.
Cold wild hog tacos are one of the main draws here tonight in town. The guy who makes them, Nick Garza. Nick's the city finance director for the city of Roma, and he's also an outspoken critic of the U.S. president's claims that Roma is being overrun by violent criminals and gangs from Mexico.
The problem seems to be in Mexico and not in the United States. We haven't seen, even though we don't have a border or we don't have a wall, we don't see the violence spreading out to our local town.
And as far as a national emergency, Nick says, just look around town. Does this look like a national emergency, he says?
No, there's not an emergency here. I don't agree that there's an emergency here.
At 2 o'clock in the morning.
Though illegal immigrants keep coming. This family from Honduras has just been dropped at the river down below, joining other families here who've turned themselves into Border Patrol agents. Jessica Valeriano says she came here with her son and her cousin, Barbigal Valladares.
Muy dura. Yo hace como un mes me intentaron arrebatar mi vida. Y entonces yo dejo a mi esposa y una bebé de 1 año y mi madre. Y pues es muy duro, me duele dejarlos, pero ellas me dijeron que me fuera mejor para morir. Y ella me dijo que íbamos a traer un niño. Va a estar bien. Tranquilo. Cálmate.
Critics of the U.S. government's handling of border crossers here say the only real national emergency is how they are often treated when arriving here. For example, on this very chilly evening, U.S. border agents follow orders, they say, from Washington to search them, telling them to remove their shoes and shoelaces and other clothing. Part of the process, border agents say, of searching for weapons, no matter their ages, confiscating much of their personal belongings, toys included. This youth told he has too many shirts on.
¿Cuál te quieres llevar, la de arriba o la de abajo?
Straight there.
Esta de arriba. Ok, pues cámbiate.
It's unclear how many elected leaders in Washington have come to Roma to witness what happens here each night. While most families here say they've come to the U.S. for a better life, they are finding out rather quickly that the asylum they seek is seldom automatic and increasingly never granted.
No se quite la camisa.
¿Cuántos años tiene ella?
4 años.
Many of them have spent their life savings, they say, paying smugglers to bring them here. Only, in the end, to find themselves being marched into U.S. government vans like bad hombres.
Yeah, be advised, transport's going out there to pick up some of those bodies.
For a long ride in the night to a U.S. immigration detention facility 50 miles from here. Uncertain how it will all end.